Hey, I'm Laura, and this is my phonics lesson for first grade. My objective is to decode regularly spelled one-syllable words. For review, we're going to do phoneme blending with picture cards, and we did this with phonemic awareness. The reason I decided to do this as a review is because in phonemic awareness, we were segmenting and blending sounds with picture cards. And with this lesson of decoding one-syllable words, we're going to be looking at the sounds and looking at the letters that are applied to make the sounds in words. So I thought this was a really cool way to bring it full circle for the students to see what they did in phonemic awareness and how it applies with phonics. So for example, I would just get on the smartboard and we would just review a few cards. We would do fish, just like we did with phonemic awareness. Oops. Okay. So I would lay them down and we go fish, fish. And this is just with a picture card. Later on they'll do fish with actual letters and they can remember and see how fish. Another one would be pen. Pen. I thought that review would just be really neat to kind of refresh their memory and see how, so they could see how it applies whenever we actually use real letters and make real words. So when I was doing that, I would just ask them the sounds and we would look at it and we would identify the middle sounds. Like for instance, pen would be p, would be the middle sound. All right, the purpose and importance of this lesson is to teach the students how to sound and blend words by looking at print so they will be able to recognize words automatically and be fluent readers. Last week, we learned common consonant digraphs such as CH, DR, SH, and TR. So it'd be ch, dr, sh, and ch. Today we're going to learn how to decode regularly spelled one-syllable words, some including consonant digraphs we learned last week. And next week we will begin to learn the final E and common vowel conventions for representing long vowel sounds. The objective, like I said, is to decode regularly spelled one-syllable words. My motivation is Skyride. It's from the Starfall website, and I would just display it on the smartboard, and it's a really cool website. It has so much stuff. I'm probably going to look at it. It's got a lot more than Professor Garfield that I used last week. And with this, it just reads a story, and it'll read the sentence to you. And not only does it read the sentence, but then it will look at the words and sound them out. And it's just great because we can let the smartboard show us the story and show us the sentence, and then we can do it together ourselves. Let me see if I can get this closer. Here's a sentence, an example from it. It can just say the sentence for us.
Spot is black and white.
And then we can hit the word and it'll sound it out for us, and we can just let it do it for us and then do it together as a class.
Spot. Black.
So they actually get to see it, get to hear it, and then after that we could do it together as a class, and it's really fun. When you get finished with the sentence, you go to the next one, and it just tells a story, and it's got lots of animation.
He rides bikes with Mike and Spike. Rides.
Anyways, this had a lot of activities, and when you go to the main page, it lists ABCs, learning to read, and I like to read, different levels, so you can go to it and then it lists activities that are appropriate for where your student's at and they're learning to read. So my first procedure is 3-in-1, and this procedure we display letter cards and a sheet on the smartboard. I'm gonna get this set up so you can see. So here's our sheet, and it's got real word and nonsense words. And then you'll have a stack of consonants, and then you have a stack of vowels. So you just place them on the smartboard face down like this. I'm going to move this sheet. This is where we're going to write if they're real or nonsense. So what we would do is we would work alone at our desk for this activity, and I would place everything on the smartboard. And what I would do, we would do a couple together. We would choose 2 consonants and choose a vowel, and we would decide if it makes a word. And they're going to sound it out, say it, blend it, and then they're going to write down whether it's a real or nonsense word. So if we choose 2 consonants and choose a vowel, and then you put the vowel in the middle and the consonants on either side. So this is like a CBC activity. So we would look at it, and it's g, g, and I would say, is G-O-H a real word? Well, we know that if you take this away, go spells go. G-O spells go. G-O-H is a nonsense word. So we would write down on our paper that it is a nonsense word, and we would write G-O-H. Now, before I moved on to the next set, I would tell them, well, we can switch the letters and see what happens. And when we switch, we have hog. Now, hog is a real word, so we could write hog under real words. Anyway, so this activity we would do one at a time, and we would I would do a couple of examples, and then they would do it alone at their desk, and they would be allowed to sound it out quietly at their desk, but this really just gives them practice. I would put on the smartboard, they could sound it out, and then we would review each one as we went. I wouldn't make them do the whole list, you know, and then come back to it and review, because we need to do it one at a time to make sure everyone's getting it. All right. So for the second activity, we would do digraph a word. For this activity, we would have picture cards, and we would have letters and consonants, and digraphs, and we would paste the picture cards face down in a stack. And then we would place the letter and the digraph tiles face up in rows. So for this activity, the students would work in pairs. And the first student would select a picture card, name it, and then segment it into phonemes or sounds. The second student will select letter tiles and place them in order. So the first student would just, kind of like phonemic awareness, pull the card, name it, name the phonemes, and then the student, the partner, would put the letters that coincide with the sounds. Then they would say the sounds, blend it, read it, and they would both write down the words, and then switch places and start over. So working in pairs with this, I would be able to walk around and observe during the activity and give some assistance. I'll show you how this activity goes. All right, we have our digraph letters right here. And we have just regular letters. My other stack, let me get those. So for instance, if a pair is playing and one student chose the picture, and it's duck. So then, well, I had my D, let me find it. His partner would say D, U, C-K, and he would sound it out, duck, and they would both sound it out and both write it, and they could go on to the next one. Switch places. The next picture is a check mark, so they would just know that's a check. They would have ch, I'm sorry, all of my letters got mixed up. Okay. Ch, k. And they could do another one and do fish. And they would just put a F, a I, and a SH. And I think this is a great way for them to see the letters, see the sounds, see the pictures that it goes with. And working with pairs is fun. It makes it kind of like a game. So the closure, I came up with this game and I was calling it Reading Feud, kind of like Family Feud, because I love that game. I mean, that show. So what I would do is I would just have a picture. I would have picture cards, and the team would break into the class would break into 2 teams. So I would call one student from each team up to the smart board. And what we would do is place a picture card down, like if I had fish. Now, I would say go. And when I said go, the student who touched the picture the fastest would have to name it, sound it out, and then write it on the whiteboard correctly. So they would touch it, fish, and then go to the whiteboard or the smart board and write fish correctly. When they did that correctly, they would get a point, and if they didn't do all 3 correctly, then their competitor would have a turn, and they could steal the point. With words that I think they may not be familiar with, I could help them, but this is a good way to make them think and learn. Really think about it. There wouldn't be a time limit. Learn to spell without having, just off the picture, not having the word in front of them. For homework, I have a complete the reading readiness worksheet, and I just thought that it looks like something that would be fun and not too hard, but it also teaches them to incorporate trying to read the sentences. And they're going to have hints next to it. Let me show you. They'll have hints next to the sentence. So this is, your blank is nice. Well, they see a dog, so then they have to pick which word is dog. So they'd have to look, sound it out, and then they found dog, they would write it and go on to the next one. He has a new, and they would think, okay, he has a new hat. If they found it, sound it out, write it. I thought this worksheet was not too hard, not too long, and it was good practice for them. My early finishers, during the 3-in-1 game where we were working on our own with the smart board, they would be able to sit quietly. If I had to give a little extra time because everyone wasn't finished, this would probably be one of my students who were advanced that finished early. They could just sit there and I would tell them, if you finish, before we move on to the next word, think of other CVC words and write it off to the side, and I'll come around and look and see what you come up with. With the digraph a word, if a pair finished early, myself or the paraprofessional would probably just walk over there and make sure they knew what they were doing or making sure they were focusing and participating, because since the digraph a word was kind of fun, like a game working together, they shouldn't finish. They would probably just keep going. So just make sure they understood and make sure they were on task. Reading Feud, we won't have any early finishers because that'll be just a wrap-up game. Everybody's going to participate. For special needs, students with a reading disability, they'll work together in a small group with myself or the paraprofessional on sounding out single syllable words and blending them. And for that, we would just use letter tiles just to sit them down all together. We would go over them and blend them just to make sure that they were seeing how it blends and reading them together. English learners, they're going to work one-on-one with a paraprofessional to practice phonemes with word cards to assure that the student knows the sound letters and the letter combinations, the sounds that letters and letter combinations make. So since they're English learners, that's where the digraphs would come in, so they could focus and make sure that they understood it, because it'll be different from their language. On remediation, the paraprofessional will just work with a small group on reading single syllable words by having students sound out and read words quickly. Because these students aren't special need, they just need a little review. So we're going to sound out and read words quickly just to make sure that they understand. For enrichment students, they're going to be doing exceptionally well. They're going to be provided a worksheet, and it's called A Story. And they're going to be asked to complete it when time allows. And I just thought it was a little challenging, but it'd be something that they could do, and I could really see how advanced they are. Like in this worksheet, it says, one day the sun was shining. Okay, so in this one, they're going to fill in the letters. So this will let me know how well they know like which vowels to use in CVC words. So this would be U. For dog, it'd be O. A for cat. This would just really let me know that they know their vowels well. And I thought that would be a great enrichment activity. That's my lesson, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.